the tremendous winding up process of the war must be followed by a methodical and regulated unwinding. We agree that if the process is to be pressed forward with the utmost speed, it is necessary for the government to wield exceptional powers for the time being, or so long as they use those powers to achieve the great administrative and executive tasks imposed upon them. We shall not attack them. It is only if, and in so far as, those powers are used to bring about by a side wind a state of controlled society agreeable to socialist doctrinaires, but which we deem odious to British freedom, that we shall be forced to resist them. As long as the exceptional powers are used as part of the war emergency, His Majesty's government may consider us as helpers and not as opponents, as friends and not as foes. To say this in no way relieves the government of their duty to set the nation free as soon as possible, to bring home the soldiers in accordance with the scheme with the utmost rapidity, and to enable the mass of the people to resume their normal lives and employment in the best, easiest, and speediest manner. There ought not to be a long, dragged-out period of many months when hundreds of thousands of service men and women are kept waiting about under discipline, doing useless tasks at the public expense, and other tens of thousands more highly paid, finding them sterile work to do. What we desire is freedom. What we need is abundance. Freedom and abundance. These must be our aims. The production of new wealth is far more beneficial and of an incomparably larger scale than class and party fights about the liquidation of old wealth. We must try to share blessings and not miseries. The production of new wealth must precede commonwealth. Otherwise there will be only a common poverty. I am sorry these simple truisms must excite the honourable member opposite, whom I watched so often during the course of the last Parliament, and whose many agreeable qualities I have often admired, as if they had some sense of novelty for him. We do not propose to join issue immediately about the legislative proposals in the gracious speech. We do not know what is meant by the control of investment, but apparently it is the subject for mirth. Evidently in war you may do one thing, in peace perhaps another must be considered. Allowance must be made for the transitional period through which we are passing. The debate on the address should probe and elicit the government's intentions in this matter. The same is true of the proposal to nationalize the coal mines. If that is really the best way of securing a larger supply of coal at a cheaper price, and at an earlier moment than is now in view, I for one should approach the plan in a sympathetic spirit. It is by results that the government will be judged, and it is by results that this policy must be judged. The national ownership of the Bank of England does not, in my opinion, raise any matter of principle. I give my opinion. Anybody else may give his own. There are important examples in the United States and in our dominions of central banking institutions. But what matters is the use to be made of this public ownership. On this we must wait the detailed statement by the Chancellor of the Exchequer, whom, I am glad to say, has pledged himself to resist inflation. Meanwhile, it may be helpful for me to express the opinion, as leader of the opposition, that foreign countries need not be alarmed by the language of the gracious speech on this subject, and that British credit will be resolutely upheld. Then there is the Trade Disputes Act. We are told that this is to be repealed. Personally, I feel that we owe an inestimable debt to the trade unions for all they have done for the country in the long struggle against the foreign foe. But they would surely be unwise to reinstitute the political levy on the old basis. It would be very odd if they wished to regain full faculties for legalizing and organizing a general strike. It does not say much for the confidence with which the Trade Union Council view the brave new world, or for what they think about the progressive nationalization of our industries, that they should deem it necessary, on what an honourable and gallant gentleman called the D-Day of the New Britain, to restore and sharpen the general strike weapon at this particular time of all others. Apparently nationalization is not regarded by them as any security against conditions which would render a general strike imperative and justified in the interest of the workers. We are, I understand, after nationalizing the coal mines, to deal with the railways, electricity, and transport. Yet, at the same time, the trade unions feel it necessary to be heavily rearmed against state socialism. Apparently, the new age is not to be so happy for the wage earners as we have been asked to believe. At any rate, there seems to be a fundamental incongruity in these conceptions to which the attention of the socialist intelligentsia should be speedily directed. Perhaps it may be said that these powers will only be needed if the Tories come into office. Surely these are early days to get frightened. I will ask the Prime Minister if he will tell us broadly what is meant by the word repeal. I have offered these comments to the House, and I do not wish to end on a somber or even slightly controversial note. As to the situation which exists today, it is evident that not only are the two parties in the House agreed in the main essentials of foreign policy and in our moral outlook on world affairs, but we also have an immense program prepared by the joint exertions during the coalition, which requires to be brought into law, and made an inherent part of the life of the people. Here and there may be differences of emphasis and view, but, in the main, no parliament ever assembled with such a mass of agreed legislation as lies before us. I have great hopes of this parliament, and I shall do my utmost to make its work fruitful. It may heal the wounds of war, and to turn to good account the new conceptions and powers which we have gathered amid the storm. I do not underrate the difficult and intricate complications of the task which lies before us. I know too much about it to cherish vain illusions. But the morrow of such a victory as we have gained is a splendid moment in both our small lives and in our great history. It is a time not only of rejoicing, but even more of resolve. When we look back on all the perils through which we have passed, and at the mighty foes we have laid low, and all the dark and deadly designs we have frustrated, why should we fear for our future? We have come safely through the worst. Home is the sailor, home from sea, and the hunter home from the hill. End of speech.